is Hannah Veerkamp, and I'm the Creative Experience Resource Specialist at St. Louis Public Library. And Creative Experience is a digital makerspace at Central Library and Barr Libraries. We opened our second location at Barr last spring. And so we, as you may know, have a lot of tools that are available for customers to come and use for free. We have hardware and software. Some of the computer software that we have includes the Adobe Creative Suite, as well as other audio and video, music production tools, and we also have a recording room that people can use. The library is open again for people for limited hours, but throughout a lot of the pandemic, we were closed, and we have converted all of our workshops to virtual workshops over this year. And so this is a fourth in a series of 5 free online media production tools seminars this spring. And so part of that is that we wanted to show people tools that are available when you're not in Creative Experience or if you don't have the Adobe Creative Suite at home. And so we've been doing a series. The previous ones are available on our YouTube channel, which we'll have a link for at the end of the slideshow. And this one will be up there too after it's done. So today we are going to talk about some free vector graphics programs. So we have Vectr and Vectorizer. And so first, just some background to talk about what vector graphics are. Basically, vector graphics, most photos that you are familiar with are made of pixels. And so as you may have seen something like the tiger image on the left before, when the resolution isn't very high of a photo and you expand it too big, it gets really pixelated and stops even looking like what it is. And so vector graphics, on the other hand, are created by using paths instead of pixel images. And so the nice thing about that is that they're reproducible at any size. So you can, as you can see, the images on the right, the little one and the big one are just the same. And so because they're not made of pixels, the resolution can be expanded. So when you see, they're really nice for things like, billboards, or you see images on a bus, but they're also great for using for logos and online work, all kinds of different stuff. So there's a lot of different options you can do with them, but that's the main difference between them and regular images. So the tools that we're going to focus on today are specifically designed for creating and using vector images, although they interact with photos and other images as well. So the first tool, I'm going to just kind of tell you the overview about both of these, and then we'll do a demo and I'll show you the ins and outs of both of them. You're welcome to follow along if you want, or just watch and then go back and play with it. There's a lot of different things to, it's at least the way that I learn is just by trying them out and getting my hands on them. So however you want to do that. So Vectr is a free online graphics editor that you can use to create vector graphics. And it's a really robust app that has a lot of different shapes as well as tools in it so that you can use to design your own graphics. One limitation compared to something like illustration, which is the vector tool in the Adobe Creative Suite, is it doesn't have a built-in option to convert a regular raster image into a vector image. So you can't just upload a photo or a sketch and turn it into a vector image the way that you can in a program like Illustrator. So that's where Vectorizer comes in. Vectorizer is a free online graphic application that you can actually convert images to vector images. And you don't even have to create an account for that one. You do it all online, and it gives you a lot of options of how you want to, what kind of resolution you want, whether you want it to be as realistic as possible, or whether you want to lower the resolution to create stylized effects and have it look more like a illustration. And so we'll show some examples of what you can do with that. Both of these are compatible with all modern web browsers. They're all online tools. They're not specifically designed for mobile devices, although you can use them, but the apps are formatted for the desktops. And you don't need an account for either of them, but the Vectr allows you to save work and it gives you a certain amount of space for free to save on the cloud. So it's kind of nice. And you can either log in with Google or Facebook or with your email. So if you do that, then you can save images and come back to your projects later. So when I do the demo, I'll show you I've signed in with my Google account. And so I want to start with just doing a little demo. Do we have any questions about these before we just jump into looking at the apps? Feel free to use the chat or raise your hand. So we're going to just jump into these. And let me go ahead and share my screen. This is just a simple thing. We'll do something like this of creating a graphic based on tracing another image. So this is Vectr, and one of the nice things when you first log on, you'll get this interactive screen that has a lot of built-in lessons, and it's great. It's nice when you use these because it gives you all these built-in lessons and then shows you an interactive tool. So I just wanted to show you that that is available. This is my account, and I've just created a new image. And so I just want to show you some of the different shapes and tools that you can do with them to start. These are just some basic shapes that you can make. And so we can start with something like this, just click on it, and then I'm going to click and drag. And you notice I can make rectangles or squares this way. If I want to keep it conform to a square shape, I push Shift. And so this is similar to a lot of different programs. Once I create this, what I've basically created is a path here. And so there's a lot of different things I can do that are similar to other graphics programs. First, I can change the color if I wanted to. This is the fill color. If I wanted to change the border, I could put a border on here and I could change it like that. So those are options. If I double click in here, I get these paths. And if I hover near the edge here, let's see, if I double click on the edge, I get these little toggles that create a rounded edge. So if I do one, it does that. And I'm just going to do Control Z to undo. If I shift click that toggle, I can do all of the rounded edges at the same time. And so you also have this rounded rectangle option, but it's really easy to do this yourself. So I just wanted to show that point. The ellipse is the same. I can make ovals or circles. If I want to keep it a circle, I'll shift when I use it. So I'll just select that, and I'm going to select on here. And I can make that bigger by keeping it shift collected and do something like this. One thing that I can do, I can change the color of that. The other thing I can do once I have these two shapes is that I can shift click so I have them both. And then that gives me some different options up here. And it shows me with these, since it's on top of each other, adding or uniting doesn't do much. Subtracting is kind of cool. It cuts it out. Or I could the intersect and exclude doesn't do very much for the overlap ones. Let me just create a new one. I'll create a new ellipse. And I'm going to make that, I'm going to make it a circle, make it a bigger one, maybe like this. Oops. I let go of the shift key, so it's made it into an oval. I like it like that. So now if I wanted to select this and this, then I could, if I united it, it gives me that little shape on the end. If I subtracted it, it does that. If I intersected it, it just shows the part that's intersected. Or if I exclude it, it excludes that cutout. So I kind of like the way that that looks. So there's a lot of simple things that you could do with these different tools. And then down here, you have more shapes to work from. So we could go down here. I could get a triangle. Could do this. again, I could shift click it if I wanted to keep the same. So I could make an ice cream cone with just something like this. Can make this, and then I can hover over here and get to where I can rotate. So I'm rotating now. Just going to rotate a little, oops, click, and then go to that corner and just rotate it a little bit more. And I could change the color. You can either use a color picker or you can just change in here by sliding and then getting different options. So looking for something that looks a little bit brown. And then I could, I could do an ellipse. So I could just do something like this. Maybe I want to make that a strawberry ice cream cone. Maybe I want to have 2 scoops, so I duplicate it, maybe make the other one chocolate, something like that. You can also send this to back, but I kind of like it in the front like that. So you can do things like this just with the shapes that you have available. There are also these tools for doing freehand stuff. So the pencil tool allows you just to write freely. The problem with it is that it's hard to have a lot of control, but you can still double click on this later and then move those paths around. You can make curves with this. When you're done, if you just do enter, you can stop. The pen tool takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm going to change the color on here to black so you can see it a little bit more. And I just start by clicking, and then I want to click each of the next points. And then whenever I stop, I can either make a closed shape or an open shape, but if I connect it back there, it automatically stops. Now, if I double click on it again, I get those handles where I can make these into curved shapes. So I can use these to have a little more precision with making an image. And then I can also use these to trace. And so we're going to actually try doing that by bringing in an image. So the other thing that I want to show you is that we have layers right here, and we can lock different layers. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to go ahead and start a new design and bring in an image to trace. Any questions so far? So that's going back to my profile, and I have, these are the ones that I've saved, or I can just do create a file. So I'm going to create a file. Now this time, this is how you can upload an image. So I'm going to upload an image here, and just going to go down to my downloads and upload this clip art photo of an ice cream cone that I have. So this is a little bit different from the ones that I made with the shape. This time I'm going to use the pen tool to trace it. So I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to start clicking here. And when I do that, it gives me these options here. So I want to change this to, I'm just going to change it to a different color, to something like this pink. And then I'm going to make sure this is a background. It's unclicked, so that's good. I'm going to make this a little bit thicker so I can see it easily. And I'm just going to start clicking around here. And you'll notice when I'm first doing it, it's going to be all jagged edges. But I'm going to go back and make those curves later. So I don't want to do too many dots. I just want to do enough where there's going to be a corner where I need to make some shape. So I'm just going to go around like this, just to get the basic ideas. And right now I'm just going to go ahead and do the basic outline, but I could do this shape later if I wanted to. But for now, I'm just going to do the basic outline, keep it pretty simple. So I'm going to click back on the end to close that circle. And so now again, if I double click on this line, I get all those handles on each of those. So everywhere I want it to be a little more smoothed out, I'm just going to go in here. And what I should have done, I forgot to mention. So I'm going to go back to layers. This is the image. This is the original image. You have the option to hide it or to lock it. And I'm actually just going to lock that so I don't mess it up when I'm drawing on top of it. I'm going to go back to here, double click again, and I get those little handles that aren't on the path. So I'm going to go ahead and just toggle them, and you see they're making everything curve a little bit. So this just kind of smooths it out and gives me the option to change it to curves from these sharp edges. So we're going to just smooth it out a little bit. Oh, not sure what happened. Let's try the path again. I think I hid this. I accidentally hid the background, so that's why I could just see that again. But that's kind of cool when you do that. If I hide that, then you can see what shape you're working at. But I'm going to come back and just do a little bit more finessing here to try to get rid of those harsh edges, because ice cream cones don't really have harsh edges like that. So we'll just smooth it a little bit. Now notice this one kind of went in here. If I wanted it to go out a little bit more to match that, I could just sort of drag, but it doesn't have to match it perfectly. I'm just using this as a guide, and then when I'm done, I will hide that other image. So this one, maybe we want to bring this in a little bit. I kind of like it like that. And this, these ones I feel like need just a little more smoothing. So that's good. And so now that I have that image, I'm actually going to fill it in. So I'm going to select this. And now I have this. This is like a mint ice cream, which could be cool. But I think I want it to still go with the strawberry. So I'm just going to click on there. And I'm going to use this eyedropper to go right down here to where I have that pink and just, oh, it actually got the, I'm going to undo that. It actually got outside of it. So I have to be really careful to see if I can get my pink line on there. There we go. So we have that. If I want to do the cone now, I can do the same thing. I'm just going to start here, and that I have this, I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to click on here, and I'm actually going to use this eyedropper and pick one of the colors from here and make sure that that's not checked. So that's good. So for this, I can just do some pretty straight lines, but maybe I'll give a little bit more. I'm going to not worry about that imperfection there. I'm going to make it just more like a triangle and go like this. And I'm going to try to trace this image here a little bit. And again, I'm going to come back and straighten them out. I mean, curve them out the same way that I did before. So I'm just going to close that. And so now I'm going to come in here and try to curve that around a little bit the same way that I did with those before. And I'm pretty happy with this like this down here. I'm going to click in here and try to see if I can, let's see. There you go, something like that. And so what I could do if I wanted to create, like on the one that I showed you before, I created some cone texture. And first I'm going to go ahead and just hide the background. So all you see is this. Right now I have the background and the border the same, different images, slightly contrasting. I could change that if I wanted to. And I kind of like having them different so it'll show up the texture. So when I'm done with the shape, I just push enter, and then I can get the pen again. And I can just start clicking up here. Let's see. And so I could just do something like this. I have to, let's see, I have to get this image. Let's see if I can make it. So I have to just do enter. I don't know if I'm gonna have to change the color each time I do that. I'm hoping, yeah, it'll stay there. So that's good. I'm just doing enter. So something like this. I'm doing it pretty simple. I have to go back to select it each time after I push enter because enter gets me out of it. So I could add more or less of these, or I could change the color, something like that. There's more that I could do if I wanted to make this more realistic, but I'm just doing it as a kind of simplified graphic. You know, this is how you could make a logo or something like that. So that's that's something you can play around. You could, you know, you could draw on the line for the other part of the ice cream. You could do more like that. I want to show you now using the other tool how you can convert an image to a vector that is more realistic and gives you more options. This is obviously really simplifies things. So it just gets it down to the basic shapes, and it's not, you know, it's kind of stylized. It's not that perfect when you're tracing it yourself. So I want to show you how you can use a tool like Vectorizer to do much more sophisticated image tracing. And then you could actually use a tool like Vector to change the colors or even edit the paths if you wanted to. So I'm going to go back to here now just to get a new screen. I'm just going to create file again to get a new blank one. And so now I'm going to click over to Vectorizer. And so this is a great program, super simple, free. You don't have to sign in or anything. All you do is upload an image, and then you have a lot of different options of how it turns into a shape. So this is kind of the difference between a pixel and a vector. But I'm just going to upload this image of my dog. It can do high definition. By photo, it's going to have the default high definition that renders it. This is the original image, and it's starting to render it. This is the default is maximum detail. And so showing the output here in a second. And so it's, as it fills in, it's really pretty fine detail, but when if I were to put this into an image, a vector image editor like Vector, you can see all of these are tiny, tiny paths. So what I can do is if I wanted to change this to make it something more simple, there's a couple different options right now. This is high fidelity, and then it's also showing how many colors are used. Already, like I could change this down from 32 colors to 8 colors, and you'll see a difference. And you see it already becomes more stylized, but now like his fur becomes purple. So that's something I could fix in a vector, or maybe I like that sometimes just having, because see we've gotten rid of the more of the white colors, but sometimes just having those really stylized images can be good for an effect depending on what you want to do. So I'm just showing you how it looks when you try a few different things. And keep in mind, this is still with the maximum fidelity up here. Now it's started to look more graphic. Now, if I change this down from maximum to low, it's going to change quite a bit, like what paths are chosen. And now it automatically shifted it to 32 again. So it shifted back to 32 colors, but you can see it, it's looking more like a painting kind of. And so I could then go down to 8 colors from here, and this option doesn't even have any purple, so it's going to look really different. So, and then if I went down to 4, you can just kind of decide what you want to do. But so this is kind of cool. Even with just 4 colors, I really get the image. The other option is that I could turn it black and white. But I like, and then there's one specifically for sketch. I like this photo. I'm going to go with this one again. Let me know if there's any questions or comments on this as I'm loading up of the different options that you guys like.
I do have a question.
Yeah,
Are you creating
sure.
a raster image here or a vector image?
A vector image. I'm using a photograph
Yeah.
and I'm creating a vector image.
Okay.
And so, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, that's what this app's called Vectorizer, and so that's what it does. But you can see when I scroll in like that, how much it is vectorized. So I'm going to go back to the low detail. I liked that one. And then go back to this 8 colors. And I might even try, oh, we had 4 colors and we liked 4 colors too, I think, that has less gray. And so that just, I think that 4 color is enough to really kind of capture the essence of the image. Depending on how, you could do it as high detail as you wanted. You can have really high fidelity, but then you'll see when we open it in the other image, how hard it is to edit because there's so many paths. So I'm going to keep something pretty simple. I'm just going to download this right now. And then I'm going to go back to Vector and upload the image that I just downloaded. And so you can see that has a SVG extension. So that means it's a vector. I'm going to open that. And so this image is really big on here. So I'm going to use Shift at the corner to shrink it and keep it the same aspect ratio. And then I've got to drag it. So it looks like I've got to shrink it down quite a bit to get to where we can see it. I keep pushing Shift click and then just pulling that corner to size it down. And so I'm getting it to where we can see it now. And we could change the setting to be the same aspect ratio as this. This is for a portrait and that's long, but you can see already that these are all paths. So I could double click on these now and I can see all these different paths. So even with something as simple as this, there's all kinds of tiny paths. And you can see now when we look in these layers, each one of these is a different path and a different layer. So, you know, for some of the bigger shapes, I could do something like I could select this one, double click, and it's all this black right now. And I could go into the background and I could change it to blue. So now if I click out here so you can see, like I've just changed everything that's black here. I'm gonna undo that. But that's the way that you could go in and you could manipulate these. You could also, if I didn't like some of these, if I just decided I wanted it to be green, I could just select, although then that takes it, right now, I'd have to put another background in because that just deleted it. The green is not behind it, so I'd have to put more of a green background. So that's just something to think about. But you can do a lot to play with these. I could just change this color, you know, I could decide that he should have pink on his boots too. you can see that even with a pretty simplified version, there are so many more dots than the ones that you create on your own. And so this can be really great if you want to convert a photo and adjust it, but it can be complicated figuring out how to go in and make those adjustments. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here.
And Hannah, there was a question from Jane.
Yeah.
Can you size it smaller and vectorize before downloading?
That's a great question. Let me see. So I'm going to stop that share again. Oops. So let me see. I'm going to share this screen again for Vectorizer. And I want to look and see. So this gives me this download and the SVG. This is the default. This is a Photoshop file. This is a PNG, so it would be not editable as a vector, but it doesn't see. Okay, so here's the output size. Yes, you can. So that's something I didn't realize. So we could totally change it in there. That's a great question. We could just set it down there, and we could do it by scaling or by the width and the height. And it looks like these are some presets. So yes, you can. Great question. And it looks like there's another question in the chat. Where does it save the files? So when you save the files for Vectorizer or when you export, and I'll go ahead and when you export, it just goes to your downloads file. But and when you save it from the Vectorizer, it just goes to your downloads file as well. And I just wanted to show you where the export option was on this, if I can get this one to load. Sometimes this is a little bit slow. How large are the vector files? They're not huge. Let me look and see if I can tell. So this vector, this is the image that we saved here. It's 598 kilobytes. It's small. It's much smaller than a pixel image, for example. This is the image of my dog. That is 3.1 megabytes. So pixels take up a lot more space. So up here is the export. So when I export it, you can also choose some options here. You can choose the height and size that you want for that. And the page is the whole option, which will select all of the different layers. You could select certain layers and do a selection instead. If you want to come back and edit it in a tool like this and have all those paths available, you could do it SVG. But if you wanted to be able to just use it in something else and only use it as the size that you exported, you could save it as a JPEG or PNG. The PNG gives you the option to save it with a transparent background if you wanted to use it for something else. So that's nice for that. And so let's see, I'll save this as a JPEG, and it tells you how much space. So the JPEG takes up a little bit more space. The PNG and the SVG don't take up that much space. You can see it seems like the PNG takes up the least space. So I'm just going to do that. And then I can either print it or download it. So I'm just going to download it. And then it automatically saves it to my downloads files. So this is the PNG here. And I could do a quick look here and you can see it. So that's the one that we just downloaded. So I'm going to stop the share. On these resources, we have the sites for Vectr and Vectorize that we looked at. We have the Creative Experience site, which has information about all the services that we offer. And then we have our YouTube channel here. And if you're watching this later and would like a copy of this slideshow with a clickable link, if you want to email me at the address that is on our next slide right here, cexp@slpl.org, then we'll be happy to send you a copy of the slide, and everyone that's attending today, we will send you a copy as well. And so coming up next month, we have Canva. Previously, we did Adobe Spark, Bear Audio, and Pattern Sketch, which you can find those videos on our YouTube channel. And we'll have this video up in a week or two after we do captions for it. It looks like we're getting close to time, but I've got a little extra time as well. So are there any questions?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
If I understand correctly, when you create the SVG file, it can then be resized without losing quality. Isn't that
exactly? Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, when you were exporting earlier, though, you showed that you could also save what your work as a PNG or as a
JPEG.
A JPEG. So those would not have that quality. Am I correct?
Exactly. Yeah, those ones are fixed, and if you tried to resize them larger, they would start to get pixelized.
Okay.
And if you opened it into something like Vector, you wouldn't see the paths anymore.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. What programs are offered this summer? So one program that it's going to be going on through this summer that I want to mention is an artist exchange that we started this month, and it's going every month on the second Wednesday of the month, I believe. And it's a peer-to-peer networking, and we'll have two to three different artists showcase their work each month and then have an opportunity for feedback. Mary, do you want to mention any other upcoming creative experience programs for this summer?
We also have Introduction to the Laser Cutter coming up on May 3rd. I believe it's a Monday. And on May 1st, we also have a program to design and print your own wrapping paper. So if you have an image, maybe something you created today in Hannah's program that you'd want to print out, we can do that on our large format printer at the library. And we also have, starting next, I believe it's Wednesday or Thursday, there's a music fundamentals program, and there's 5 different workshops in that program going on. So make sure to check that one out as well.
And you can find all of our programs if you go to slpl.org. There's a virtual programs link, and that's for all the library programs. And then you can filter it by creative experience to see what we're doing specifically.
And I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the chat right now for everyone.
Great. Thank you all for attending today.